This coffee company is valued at 650 crores and is bringing a coffee revolution in India. After Starbucks, if there's a brand that has created a cult among coffee lovers in India, it's Blue Tokai. They make more than 130 crores in annual revenue and are disrupting India's massive 4,000 crore coffee industry. And now before we understand what's working for Blue Tokai, it's important for me to tell you just how much the world loves coffee. And these stats are pretty mind-blowing. See, coffee is the second most consumed beverage in the world after water. It's one of the top 10 traded commodities in the world after likes of crude oil, gold and copper. And in fact, in the ancient Arab culture, there was only one reason a woman could divorce her husband, and it was if he did not like coffee enough. Yeah, that's how crazy people are for coffee. Now, before I tell you how Blue Tokai pioneered the specialty coffee wave in India and the 3 insights they have cracked in the market later in the video, it's absolutely important for you to know the 3 waves of coffee that the world has gone through, which has affected the way you and me drink coffee today. It all started back in 1800s with the first wave of coffee, when coffee was commoditized and brands did not matter, because people had recently become aware about the kick of caffeine. In fact, it is during this time when they witnessed the first ever instant packaged coffee. The second wave was 170 years later, when giants like Starbucks transformed the coffee culture and cafes by adding offline experiences to the joy of having a cup of coffee. They also added more innovations like frappuccinos to appeal to a broader mass of people. Coffee was becoming mainstream. Now the third wave is when people started becoming highly selective and picky about their coffee. They wanted to know which farms were their coffee sourced from, whether beans were freshly roasted or not, or how they were brewed, and whether these beans match a certain flavor profile or not. This led to emergence of high respect for specialty coffee among coffee fans. By the way, this specialty coffee is a term used to refer to coffee that scores 80 plus points on a 100 scale given by the SCAA, which is the Specialty Coffee Association of America. But India has been a very slow adopter to these waves. In fact, in 2011, when the world was in its third wave, we were still stuck at second wave, which was the cafe wave. And let me actually break down the market for you to understand this landscape better. See, there are 2 broad categories. One is in terms of coffee that we consume at home, which was mostly dominated by instant coffee brands, the brews and the Nescafes, which even today control more than 70% of India's instant coffee space. On the other hand, the second category was cafes, which was ruled by CCD, which was in fact India's largest coffee chain with roughly 50% market share and more than 1,200 outlets across the entire country. By the way, they were so big that they had 4 times the number of stores Barista had, which was the second biggest chain. And not just that, in 2012, the giant Starbucks entered the Indian market with Tatas and exposed Indian customers to the premium experience of chilling and working while having coffees. This was very new phase for India, but still, there was no access to specialty coffee as such. And this is where Matt, the founder of Blue Tokai, comes into picture. Matt was born and brought up in the US and had come to India in 2011 for his job in Chennai. Matt's father was from Chennai, so he had basic understanding of Indian culture and how popular filter coffee was here. But since Matt's entire upbringing was in the US, a high quality cup of coffee was deeply embedded in his daily routine. That's why Matt wasn't really happy with the coffee he had access to here. And disappointed by the market at that time and being more bullish about the growing Indian consumption, Matt left his high-paying job and started Blue Tokai with his wife Namrata. In fact, what started with a small roaster at their home in Delhi has today translated into 100 plus outlets all across the country. They had one simple philosophy. If you love something as a consumer yourself and it's not available in the market, go ahead and be the first ones to create it. With that context in mind, let's get into our 3 key insights that this husband-wife duo has cracked in their long journey of 10 years and how they are changing the way Indians consume coffee with Blue Tokai. Starting with the very first insight, which is their insane product depth. See, the reason why people love Blue Tokai so much is because Matt himself is a coffee nerd and he had very high bars to begin with. For this, he only went after 100% pure Arabica coffee beans, which are technically considered the most superior beans with the best flavor profile. In fact, they not only solved the bean problem, but also solved the fresh roast problem, as they made freshly roasted coffee delivered at customers' doorstep. This was something that had never happened before. And in coffee, roasting is very important because it's not only the beans, but also the roasting process that plays a big role in how the taste would be. In fact, if you don't consume coffee within a 4-week window, once the roasting has happened, you would have a bad experience. By the way, roasting is when you heat coffee beans in a roaster at multiple temperatures depending on the taste that you want. And to provide the customers this 4-week window, they started roasting beans only after the customer has placed the order. And while it might look obvious now, no one was doing it at that point of time. And it is not just about roasting, by the way. It was also about figuring out the access to the right beans. So when Matt and Namrata started, they doubled down on hunting the right farmers who have the right farm for good quality bean. And I'll tell you why farms matter. You must have seen coffee beans, but what you might not have given thought to is that these beans come out of a cherry-like fruit grown at farms. And the quality of this fruit is affected by n number of factors, be it altitude, the climate, or how it's grown. By the way, this is the exact reason why an average Starbucks or other FMCG giants don't deal in specialty coffee, but deal in commodity coffee instead. Because commodity coffee can be grown at way lesser cost and at a way higher scale. But to Matt's luck, when he started, he was sitting in India, a land of high quality coffee production. In fact, we are the 8th biggest producer of coffee in the world, which is crazy. But the problem was that all farmers were exporting all the coffee to other countries. In fact, even today, we export 70% of whatever we produce to outside. This is where Blue Tokai came in between the supply chain of Indian farmers and exporters. They started reaching out to farmers in different states of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, the 3 states that rule the total coffee production in the country with a total share of more than 96%. Their pitch to farmers was simple. We would give you better rates than the traders who exported coffee. We would give you better recognition by adding your estate's name to every pack of beans that comes out from your farm. And not just that, we'll also guide you on how to grow high quality coffee the right way. They did not pitch a transaction, but a long-term sustainable partnership. All of this did take a little time, but eventually farmers agreed, and this led to the high quality coffee beans Blue Tokai is known to provide today. Now, talking about the depth, we have the perfect thing in store for you. We are hosting the 19th edition of GrowthX Demo Day, and the idea is simple. Top GrowthX teams will present in-depth growth strategies from this list of curated companies. And over the course of these pitches, you'll learn how to design your revenue model, understand nuances of customer acquisition, onboarding and retention. And did I mention the beast? Converting free users to paid users plus increasing average revenue per user. The GrowthX Demo Day is the mecca of growth and is joined by founders, product and marketing leaders of the entire startup ecosystem. It's on 19th May and you can join the event for free. But we have limited invites and it's first come first serve, so grab your passes quick. The link to grab the pass is in the description. Super. Getting back to the second thing Blue Tokai cracked, which is building relationships. See, Blue Tokai has been very obsessed about the relationships, not only with the customers, but also with the suppliers. And after talking to more than a dozen Blue Tokai customers while researching about them, the one major thing that I found behind their cult-like following is their transparency. See, Blue Tokai doesn't just want to extract value from the supply chain. They also want to give back. They want to empower farmers and create long-term partnerships. And while it might not sound like a big deal, but trust me, it is. Because in India, 90% of the coffee farmers are small farmers who have less than 10 hectares of land with them. And most of the time, these farmers are dependent on traders who would take beans from them and then export it to other countries. This leaves these farmers with zero visibility of the end consumer. This is where Blue Tokai comes into the picture to make sure that estate names, which are basically the land names of coffee farmers, are mentioned on every pack of coffee beans. It gives the farmers and their land an exposure to a way bigger audience. A better economic ecosystem for farmers where if anyone likes the beans of certain quality, they can go ahead and reach out to these farmers and see if there's a scope of long-term relationship or not. You literally know the farmers who are growing the coffee for you. This ideology of giving back became a core part of the bigger ecosystem they were trying to solve for. The reason why it worked is pretty simple. Most of their target audience is between 27 to 35 years of age. A young population that cares about the larger effects in society. And it is not just this. They have also created high trust by doubling down on educating customers how to consume coffee. In fact, many people love them because it's only because of Blue Tokai's brilliant education that they have become specialty coffee lovers. Even their website is full of resources about brewing, farmers and flavor tones and whatnot. So when someone buys a coffee, they get complete information of what bitterness level, sweetness level, roast type or other factors a particular coffee bean has. But while many brands try to educate customers as well, the reason why Blue Tokai stands out is because they do it in the most simplest possible manner. See, in specialty coffee, you need an equipment to brew your coffee, which is when you add boiling water over coffee beans using a filter that allows the water to extract flavor and aroma of coffee beans. But Blue Tokai knew the average Indian user. They knew that Indian consumers are usually very apprehensive of buying new equipment. Obviously, we hate extra costs. Even I hate it. So they removed the equipment entry barrier by popularizing the culture of using chai chhannis at home for this brewing process and made the concept of chhanni brew cool. This was a masterstroke. And yes, as you can guess, this led to tons of new customers for them. Customers who were earlier intimidated by the brewing were now drinking Blue Tokai. And to incentivize more people into trying specialty coffee, they launched several new lines of products like their Easy Pour Coffee, in which you absolutely need no equipment. This is how they solved the accessibility problem for Indian consumers. Great. Now, while this is how they solved user problems, they also had to figure out the scaling problems. Which brings me to the third thing they have cracked beautifully, which is smart expansion. See, Blue Tokai at the very core is a coffee brand and not a cafe brand. You must have seen it yourself, right? That Blue Tokai stores are very rare, and despite the high growth, they are not in every city. The reason is their smart top-down penetration plan. They want to target tier 1 cities only. Blue Tokai is not a super massy brand. Their positioning is premium and they are meant for people who care about a good cup of quality coffee. And they realized this very early on that they need to go to the omni-channel route and not only the D2C online route. And this strategy helps them a lot as it leads to higher brand recall, new customer acquisition, and also acts as a way to add value to the existing customers by providing the great experience of a good cafe vibe as well. Let's understand how. Just imagine that you're a Blue Tokai customer who is out for some work and is roaming on the street and you badly crave a good cup of coffee. You are seeing multiple brands like Starbucks, Third Wave on the road, but not any cafe of Blue Tokai. In such case, what would you do? In this case, you would obviously enter some random cafe and try their coffee out. This could mean a lost customer for Blue Tokai. That's why their cafes helps them not only in customer acquisition, but also customer retention. In fact, this cafe strategy is such a big lever for them that they are now getting 66% of the revenue from this source. That's why they are even more bullish on cafes now and are planning to add 80 stores every year to their store footprint, which is massive by the way, since they are only opening these stores in top cities. So while the cafe strategy has helped them in B2C, it has also helped them in gaining trust from bigger B2B corporate clients. These corporate clients want to provide good coffee to their employees or their clients. And while this B2B angle might look very small from outside, it is actually not. And in fact, it contributes to 50% of all the coffee revenue that they get from outside the cafes. Great. So these were the three main reasons that made them go from a small roaster in their Delhi house to a 650 crore massive valuation today. That's it for today, and I'll see you on the demo day on 19th May. The link to grab a pass is in the description. Ciao. It's actually pretty good, guys.